Here is a summary of the antihypertensive agents that are recommended in the JNC 7. Based on the favorable outcome data from clinical trials, this is the information about the utility of these different agents. We have the 5 or 6 classes of agents here. You can see the diuretics, the beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, angiotensin receptor blockers, calcium channel blockers, and then aldosterone antagonists. So, these are the 6 different classes of drugs that are listed here. The conditions are given here: congestive heart failure, post-myocardial infarction, CAD risk, diabetes mellitus, nephropathy, and then stroke prevention. You see, ACE inhibitors are useful in all the conditions. Congestive heart failure, they are the drugs of choice. Post-myocardial infarction, certainly they are the sheet anchors. CAD risk, they must be given. Diabetes mellitus, no doubt. But of course, ARBs are equally or effective or better than ACEs as far as diabetes mellitus and nephropathy are concerned. And stroke prevention, ACE inhibitors score over other drugs, and particularly ARBs. Particularly the newer ARBs, they are not shown to have the prevention of stroke. ARBs also are equally effective against all the conditions except stroke prevention. Tell me why we should not prescribe ACE inhibitors with so many benefits on heart failure, post-myocardial infarction, cardiometabolic risk, CAD risk, diabetes mellitus, nephropathy, and stroke prevention. When you look at beta blockers, we don't have the evidence to say that they are good here. Diuretics, they have problems in certain areas, and calcium channel blockers, they have difficulties with certain areas. Of course, aldosterone antagonists are not true antihypertensives by themselves, but they are useful very much in the post-MI state and in the CHF state to reduce the effect of the RAAS. So, if one could combine ACE or ARB with an aldosterone antagonist in these 2 conditions, that would be really good for the patient. So, remember that among all the antihypertensive drugs that we have, ACE inhibitors and ARBs are the best drugs as far as treatment of these specific conditions are concerned, associated comorbidities are concerned. Okay, how good are these hypertensive drugs on the other fronts? Let us say we use ACE inhibitor or say calcium channel blocker or a diuretic or a beta blocker or an alpha blocker. What will be their effect on dysglycemia and dyslipidemia? ACE inhibitors and ARBs, they reduce the dysglycemia, they prevent the new onset diabetes, they improve the glycemic status, they improve the insulin resistance. Dyslipidemia, they reduce the dyslipidemia, and again on both the fronts, and glycemia front and lipidemia front, ACE inhibitors and ARBs are wonder drugs. When you look at calcium channel blockers, they are neutral on glycemia, they are neutral on lipids. When you look at on diuretics, they increase the diabetic state, they increase the dysglycemia, particularly if the dose exceeds 12.5 milligrams. Then of course they are lipid unfavorable in the sense they increase the dyslipidemia. Beta blockers also, they are dysglycemic and more dyslipidemic, and alpha blockers are neutral on glycemia, but they also increase hyperlipidemia. So, if you look at all these 5 classes of drugs for hypertension and their effect on the other fronts, important cardio metabolic fronts like glycemia and lipidemia, ACE inhibitors and ARBs score very much over the other drugs. So, it is imperative that when a patient is dysglycemic and dyslipidemic, we have to use at least one of the antihypertensive drugs, must be either an ACE inhibitor or ARB. Vascular protection, also called VP. ACE inhibitors or ARBs are a must for vascular protection because they are antihypertensive, vasoprotective, antithrombotic, anti-inflammatory. They are inevitable in every diabetic patient, more so in a patient with diabetes mellitus and hypertension or nephropathy and CVD. ACE inhibitors or ARBs, they reduce the CV events, they reduce the atherosclerosis, they reduce the renal disease and particularly nephropathy, which is a strong CV risk factor. ACE inhibitors, we have seen in the previous slide, they are metabolically friendly drugs. They reduce the dysglycemia, they improve the dyslipidemia, they prevent the new onset of diabetes, and they prevent the nephropathy and microalbuminuria. They are one of the most well tolerated drugs with very few side effects. So, ACE inhibitor or ARB, remember, is a must for every cardiovascular high risk patient and particularly a diabetic patient. If we use an ACE inhibitor or ARB, renal impairment is halted, renal impairment is prevented. These improve the estimated glomerular filtration rate, these improve the microalbuminuria, these decrease the proteinuria, these help the patient from going to higher stages of CKD. CKD has got 5 stages, stage 1 to stage 5. If we start ACE inhibitors or ARBs in a stage 3 or stage 2 patient, we can reverse him to stage 1 or stage 0. Likewise, we can prevent the progression to stage 4 and 5, which are higher stages of nephropathy which require renal replacement. LV dysfunction can be corrected with the use of ACE inhibitors, particularly when you combine with a newer beta blockers like carvedilol or then long-acting metoprolol or nebivolol or bisoprolol. The LV dysfunction is improved. If a patient has got previous myocardial infarction, we have to use ACE inhibitor along with a newer beta blocker, not the older beta blockers which have got other side effects of bronchospasm and then so many other vascular effects. Newer beta blockers along with ACE inhibitors are good choices for previous MI. Remember the contraindication, the only absolute contraindication is pregnancy. In pregnancy, we cannot give ACE inhibitors or ARBs because ACE inhibitors and ARBs, they will block the activity of the angiotensin II, and we know that angiotensin II is growth promoting. If we use these drugs in pregnancy, the fetal growth is arrested. For that reason, these drugs are contraindicated in pregnancy. If a woman becomes pregnant, if she is already on ACE inhibitors for some reason, we need to substitute the drug till her pregnancy is over and take off the ACE inhibitor ARB, substitute with other pregnancy friendly antihypertensive drug. The relative contraindications, of course, bilateral renal artery stenosis. It's not a very common condition, luckily. It's also an absolute contraindication, but unilateral renal artery stenosis also we have to be very careful. Severe renal impairment, when we say severe, serum creatinine more than 3 in men, more than 2.5 in women. It is imperative that we need to monitor renal function in all patients who are put on ACE inhibitors or ARBs. Particularly, we have to do serum creatinine, sodium and potassium first in the first week and then every monthly thereafter. The cough and ACE inhibitor induced cough and angioedema are problems only with the ACIs, but ARBs do not share these side effects. So, if a patient on ACE inhibitor develops angioedema or cough, we can safely substitute ACE inhibitor with a suitable ARB. NSAIDs, they interact adversely, they interact with the prostaglandin synthesis and then thus they impair the action of ACE inhibitors. So, we need to be very careful in giving NSAIDs in a patient who is receiving ACE inhibitors. In fact, in any cardiovascular high risk patient. Of course, low dose acetyl salicylic acid of the order of 75 to 150 milligrams is okay. It is not going to interfere with the action of ACE inhibitors. So, once again, to recapitulate the indications for ACE inhibitors or ARBs, fundamental indication is heart failure, systolic heart failure and diastolic heart failure. Hypertension, the first agent or one of the agents to treat hypertension should be ACE inhibitor or ARB. Angina and type 2 diabetes, acute myocardial infarction and post myocardial infarction. These drugs will prevent ventricular remodeling, they will prevent the arrhythmia onset, they will help recovery, and they will help progression of the myocardial infarct into a higher stage of cardiac invalidity. Of course, in nephropathy, ACE inhibitors and ARBs may be diabetic or non-diabetic nephropathy. Anybody who has got 2 or more risk factors for cardiometabolic risk, for risk protection as a primary preventive agent, ACE inhibitors or ARBs are a must. And so, with all these indications, what else is left when we cannot use ACE inhibitors or ARBs? This is to say, they have a universal role to play in every patient of cardiometabolic disease. So much so, ACE inhibitors and ARBs are a must for every cardiovascular patient. Maybe for primary prevention, maybe for secondary prevention, maybe for treatment of the underlying conditions, maybe for tertiary prevention. Whatever may be the indication, they are a must. Remember, to reduce the cardiometabolic risk, in every patient that we see, we must assess the cardiometabolic risk and aim to see that the cardiometabolic risk is reduced. How do we achieve it? There are 3 drug classes. We have dealt very extensively with this class, ACE inhibitors, ARBs. Do not forget statins. These are wonder molecules along with aside ACE inhibitors and ARBs. Statins are the wonder molecules of the last 20-30 years. Of course, antiplatelet agents, particularly aspirin, small doses of 75 to 150 milligrams. An aspirin, a statin, an ACE inhibitor together work wonders to reduce the cardiometabolic risk. In a patient of diabetes mellitus, we have one more A. The first A, of course, is the atorvastatin for lipid management and also for reducing the cardiometabolic risk. And then acetyl salicylic acid, entry coated to reduce the cardiometabolic risk. ACE inhibitors or ARBs, again to modify the cardiometabolic risk and to treat nephropathy and to prevent progression to CVE events. And the important aspect, the last one, A, is the A1C control or the glycemic control. So, it is important not only that the glycemic control is taken care of in a patient of diabetes, he is given the other 3 A's also: atorvastatin, acetyl salicylic acid, ACE inhibitor or ARB, and A1C control. The blood pressure goal in a diabetic patient, of course, is less than 130 and less than 80. Control of nephropathy and proteinuria should be a must. Cigarette smoking cessation must be advised. Weight loss and waste management should be emphasized. Physical activity of at least 2 kilometers per day, at least 5 days in a week. These are the different ways in which we can protect the blood vessels in a diabetic patient. So, this is what is called vascular protection in diabetes mellitus. Now, here you see the 4 ACEs. This is the ACE inhibitor, this is the atorvastatin, this is the acetyl salicylic acid, and this, of course, is the A1C control. Having said that ACE inhibitor or ARB is a must in every type 2 diabetes patient, depending on the comorbidity, the add-on drugs have to be chosen. Let us say if a patient is diabetes mellitus alone, ACE inhibitor low dose or ARB will suffice. The add-on drug could be to treat the blood pressure and to look for the albumin creatinine ratio and watch for that. The patient has got diabetes mellitus and hypertension plus minus LVH, with or without LVH, ACE inhibitor or ARB should be the primary drug plus a diuretic combination to treat the hypertension, maybe a calcium channel blocker to treat the hypertension, or a new generation beta blocker. The patient has got diabetes mellitus with microalbuminuria or albumin creatinine ratio raised or albuminuria directly, ARB is the first choice. Of course, AC also can be used. The add-on drug could be indapamide and carvedilol. Carvedilol is a newer generation beta blocker. If the patient has diabetes and coronary artery disease or myocardial infarction or post-myocardial infarction, ACE inhibitors are the drugs of choice, along with probably ARBs. If ACE inhibitors are intolerant, the patient is intolerant, you can use ARB, of course carvedilol, and new generation beta blockers like bisoprolol, nebivolol, and then extended release metoprolol can be used. Diabetes mellitus and congestive heart failure, ACE inhibitor or ARB, preferably ACE inhibitor, and have to be used along with diuretics and newer generation beta blockers and aldosterone antagonists. So, diabetes mellitus, they are going to receive all the 4 drugs, the 4 A's, that is the A1C control, atorvastatin, aspirin, and then ACE inhibitor. Depending on the comorbidity, whether they have hypertension, whether they have microalbuminuria, whether they have coronary artery disease and myocardial infarction, whether the diabetic patient has got congestive heart failure, the add-on drugs have to be chosen. The underlying ACE inhibitor ARB is a must, and that has to go. Now the question is, suppose we combine the ACI and ARB, is there an extra benefit? Theoretically, yes. ACE inhibitors block the conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. ARBs block the action of angiotensin 2 on AT1 receptors. The first one increases bradykinin and then allows more vasodilation and all the positive effects of vasodilatation of bradykinin by the ACE inhibitors. Whereas ARBs, they allow the other 2 types of receptors, AT2 and AT4 receptors, which are unblocked, and then for the angiotensin to act and produce favorable effects. So theoretically, a combination of these 2 drugs should be beneficial, but the different clinical trials, a few of them which have been recently published, they did not support this view. Nonetheless, you can, in a given patient, if the risks are higher, there is nothing wrong in combining ACE inhibitor with ARB to decrease the cardiovascular risk.